Here's the second video in the series on fundamental skills from Math 084. So this time we're going to talk about graphing lines. Here's the equation of a line for us to graph. Y equals 2/3 x plus 4. This equation is already in slope-intercept form, and slope-intercept form is the form we want our equation to be in to make it easy to graph. So first of all, you can tell this is in slope-intercept form because this equation is solved for y already. Y is by itself on one side, and that means the number that is multiplying x right here, that's the slope, and the number off by itself over here, that is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept. And we can use both of these pieces of information to graph the line. So let's start with the y-intercept. We know that since the y-coordinate of the y-intercept is 4, the point 0, 4 will be on our graph. So let's go ahead and put that on our graph. It's right here. Let me make that a little darker. All right. Now that we have one point on that we know is on our line, what we're going to do next is use the slope to move from this point to another point. So if we take our slope, it's 2/3. Remember, slope is rise over run, or delta y over delta x. So this means one way of interpreting this slope, 2/3, is that 2 is equal to delta y, and 3 is equal to delta x. So if we use 3 for delta x, this means that we're going to move right 3, because if delta x is 3, that's a move 3 to the right. And if delta y is 2, this means we're going to move up 2, because delta y 2, that means a move of 2 in the positive y direction, so up 2. So we'll take the point that we started with, the y-intercept, and we will move over 3, because delta x is 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then up 2, 1, 2. And that puts us right here. So this point is another point that's on our line. Now that we have 2 points on our line, that's enough to draw the line. If you want to get a third point on your line, just to be sure you have it in the right place, you can always do your move again. So 1, 2, 3 over, 1, 2 up, there's another point on our line. So now that we have several points on our line, we can draw the line. It looks about like this. Almost, I missed one of the points there. Okay, so if you have slope-intercept form, you can graph the line by starting at the y-intercept and then moving according to the slope. All right, let's look at a second example. So this time we're going to graph 4x plus 2y equals -4. Well, the first thing I notice about this equation is that it is not in slope-intercept form. We would like it to be in slope-intercept form, so let's put it into slope-intercept form. To put an equation into slope-intercept form, remember, all we need to do is solve for y. Let's isolate the y to solve this for y. So we'll start by subtracting 4x from both sides. That gives us 2y equals -4x minus 4. And then we'll divide both sides by 2. That gives us y equals -2x minus 2. Okay, now we have slope-intercept form, and so now graphing this equation should be more straightforward. We'll start with the y-intercept again. The y-coordinate of the y-intercept is -2. Remember, this minus sign here is part of the y-intercept. So we'll start at -2, which is right here. Let me make that darker. Okay, right here. And then we will move according to the slope. The slope is right here. It's -2. And the slope, as always, is delta y over delta x. Well, this time our slope doesn't look like a fraction, but remember, any integer really is a fraction. It's just that integer over 1. Okay, so now we can take delta y to be -2 and delta x to be 1. So the move that we're going to make is, we're going to move, since delta x is 1, we're going to move 1 to the right. And since delta y is -2, we're going to move 2, but down this time. Since delta y is negative, we have to move in the negative y direction, and that's down instead of up. Okay, so we're going to start at our y-intercept, always start at the y-intercept, and then move according to the slope. So 1 to the right, and then down 2. So 1, 2. And then we could plot that point, and then do it again if we wanted. 1 to the right, and down 2. 1 to the right, and down 2. And now that we have several points, we can graph our line. It looks about like this. So the key points to remember about graphing a line is, first, make sure you have your equation in slope-intercept form. Second, start with the y-intercept. Figure out what the y-intercept is and plot that point on the plane. And then finally, move from the y-intercept according to the slope. A positive delta x is to the right, a negative delta x is to the left. A positive delta y is up, and a negative delta y is down.